The absolute first Figma power feature you really need to master as a beginner is without a doubt Figma Components. Imagine you have 20 screens with a beautiful orange button, but your client asks you to change all the buttons to blue. Sounds frustrating, but what if you could change all 20 screens in 1 second? That is the power of Figma Components, and today you're gonna learn how to harness their power. Hello, MJ here. I'm a senior UI UX designer, and components is the fire topic in today's episode. And it's fire because I believe this is the main reason Figma is the #1 UI tool used in the entire world. My entire team changed to Figma because of it. So let me tell you what components are, because it's a very simple but very smart thing to have. A component is just a UI element that you can reuse. That's all it is. And a UI element could be a button. You will use buttons in all your screens, right? So you can create a component for a button. All screens have headers. You can make a component for a header. Maybe you're designing a list of cards. You can make a component for a card. So basically you can use components for pretty much everything you think you will reuse in your screens. And we're going to do components together right now, but you can just see them here. They are very simple. Okay, we're going to start by creating a design file, and really quick, if you're here right now, congratulations! You are now on episode 2 of the Smart Figma method that will take you from feeling slow and overwhelmed in Figma to working with clarity, confidence, and speed, knowing exactly what to use in Figma and when, designing faster than you thought possible, harnessing the power of AI within Figma, and work like a professional even if you're still a beginner. Feel free to check episode 1 if you haven't seen it, but right now you are right here in the ladder to become a Figma powerhouse, and today you're going to move up by learning to use this amazing Figma feature, components. Let's start by making a component for a button. So from our toolbar at the bottom, we're opening this shape option here, and we're going to choose the rectangle. Yeah, this one right here. Then we're clicking and dragging just to make the rectangle. With the rectangle selected like this, let's go to our right sidebar and change the width to, let's say, 360, and let's change the height to 60. Okay, we're making a button, so let's just round the corners a bit. So we need to change the corner radius to about 30. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's use our text tool to add some text to our button. And for now, we're just saying button. And I'm clicking this first resizing option on the text, so it just fits the text. Okay, great. Now under typography, I'm gonna use a better font. I think maybe Freeman. And let's make it 24 for now. Okay, it's looking good, but it definitely needs some pop of color. So click the rectangle so you can see the properties on the sidebar, and under fill, we're going to choose some type of purple. If you already have a color, like a hex color, you can just paste it here. I'm gonna paste one that I already have. Beautiful. Now let's click the text to change the color. And if you're struggling to find font colors for your buttons, I'm going to give you a very quick tip, but very handy. So let's choose this color for the fonts, but as you can see, it's barely visible. So right here in the color window, if you click this option, change color contrast, and click AAA, it will automatically choose a visible font color for you. Okay, let's just group this so we can move the rectangle and the text together. And we just need to do right click and then group. And as quick as that, you already have a button, but this is not a component yet. It's just a normal button. We could just move it to our screens, and actually let's try that out. Let's add a frame first, because every screen should be on a frame. And listen carefully here, because this is a very common beginner mistake you do not want to make. So let's first add the screen. So let's choose maybe the iPhone 16 size for now. Let's add a quick background with the AI image maker. So select your frame And inside Actions button, choose Make Image, and let's make a super simple prompt. Photo of a music artist posing for a portrait with purple and blue neon background. And we have our picture, which is awesome, but it's very bright. So let's tone it down with a rectangle on top, so it'll be in the whole image, like this. Then with the rectangle selected, let's choose Fill. Let's choose the fill color, some shade of black. And let's change the opacity to 30%. And opacity is just the transparency of the rectangle. Yeah, perfect. Okay, we're going to drag and drop our button into the screen now. And then we're going to duplicate the entire screen so you can see the example. And we're doing that by clicking on the frame, then hold Alt and drag. Let's do that one more time, and let's say we did modifications on these screens, and maybe the first screen is the logging screen, then maybe the main screen, and maybe, I don't know, detail screen. Here we have 3 screens, 3 buttons, and 1 huge mistake. Why is it a mistake, MJ? It looks perfect. No, it's not. It's not perfect, because if you need to change the color of your button here, you need to do it twice, 3 times. And you have to do it manually. You'll need to click on a button, change the color, then click on the other button, change the color, click on the button, change the color. And if you're thinking, there's just 3 buttons, no problem. Well, pretty much every single project you will have, it will start with 3 or 4 screens, and then you will end up with 20 or 30. Yeah, it does happen a lot. But the smarter solution is, yeah, you guessed it, components. So let's delete these copies, and I'm just selecting and using the delete key in the keyboard. Then take this button back and let's give it power by turning it into a component. And it's very simple, just right click and select create component. And as you can see, we have this symbol here. And this is a symbol that tells you that this is indeed a component, so you did it right. You can also see the symbol on your layer, so you can identify what is a component very quickly. And congrats, you have your first component made. But let me tell you why this is a huge change. This will save you a lot of hours of your life, my dear designer. Okay, now instead of just dragging this like before, we're going to copy it. And we're doing the same as we did with the frames. So you select the button, hold Alt and drag and drop. Okay, we're copying the screens now. Okay, 1 and then 2. And now, if someone tells you to change the background of all your buttons, you will say easy peasy, piece of cake, or whatever language you use at work. Yeah. And this is what you will do. You will click your component, not the copies, the original components, and change the background of this button only this button, and you will see the beautiful magic spread to your entire design. How satisfying is that? Amazing, right? Just one change replicates on all your screens. Now, it's very important to differentiate our components, which is this button up here, because it has a symbol of 4 diamonds, right? But the copies, these are called instances. So this button is an instance of the button component. And we can see that with the symbol, because this symbol is just one big diamond instead of the 4 diamonds of the component. Now, the power of the components doesn't end there. We can give even more power to this simple button. So let's say we need to design how the button should look like on a hover, which is when user hovers on the button, and how it should look like pressed. For that, we're creating what it's called variants, and this is part of components, okay? And a variant is very simple. A variant is just a variation of the original component, just that. And it is super easy as well. So you just need to right click on the button, okay, go to main component and then click on add variants. And we need one more. So you can do that again, right click and select the variants the same way, or you can also use this shortcut here, which is this little plus button. Okay, remember we're creating 3 versions, right? The top will be our normal one, or default state, that's how we are going to call it. Then the next one will be the hover state, and the third one will be the pressed state. Okay, let's change the style of our hover state first. And maybe just change the background to a lighter tone. Okay, and then the press state, let's make it darker. And we know this is a default state, this is the hover and this is the pressed, but we also need Figma to remember which state is which. It's very easy, and for that we're going to use something called properties. A property is just information to identify a variant. So Figma knows which one is the hover, the press state, and the default, right? Okay, if we click the button component, which is all of this is the component now, we can see on our right sidebar that we have one property called property 1 because it's just automatically assigned by Figma. But let's rename that property by clicking here, and let's call it state. Okay, this is the name of the property is state, and right now it has 3 values, which we're also going to change. So the first one, it's fine. We want the first one to be the default state. The second state corresponds to the second button, so this one, and this state will be the hover state. And the third corresponds to the third button, so that'll be our pressed state. Now, if we click the default button, we can see on our right bar that the state is default. Great. So we did that right. The second is hover. Awesome. And the third one is pressed. Awesome. You just told Figma which button is which. Now let's see how much easier it is for you to create these screens. Let's go down here and let's say you need to create a screen that shows your button in a hover state and another in a pressed state. Okay, we have our default state, and then we have a button here and it's also a default state, but now we have options to choose from. And because we did all the setup before, it's very easy to change the state to hover. Okay, and then the next button, let's change it to pressed. And congratulations, you know how to use variants now. It's super easy, and it'll become even easier once you practice a bit more. Now the next scenario is a very real scenario. You will basically do the scenario every single time. So let's say this button is a login button, and you need a sign up button as well. Best practice in design is having just one primary button that shows the main action to the user. And if you have another button, that should be a secondary button, which should look different. So let's make our secondary button with a default, a hover, and a pressed state. For this, we will create 3 more variants inside our button component. Okay, we're clicking plus. Great. Let's make some changes and let's change the background to white maybe. And we're also adding a border by clicking this plus button under stroke. Okay, change the stroke color to the same purple we've been using for the default. Then maybe thicker, about a 3 sounds great. This is the weight of the stroke, or how thick it will be. Then we're also changing the font because right now it's not even visible. So let's make it purple as well. Let's actually delete these and use this one we did as a base. Okay, let's change our backgrounds just a bit for hover and for the press states. Yeah, maybe just changing the backgrounds. Yeah, something like this looks great. Okay, now if you click on this button, we can see here that it says state 4. But we don't want that, right? What we want is to tell Figma that these are for the primary button and these are for the secondary button. So let's click on the button component, add a new property by clicking this plus button. then variant, then we're calling this property type, right? As in type of button. Our first value will be called primary for the primary button, and we're adding the secondary in a moment. But first, let me pull this up. Okay, we want this variant to be called secondary, right? So once click, we go to the type and just type with our keyboard secondary. Okay, let's do the same for the others. And let's make sure this button is state default. So choose it from the drop down, then the next one should be hover and then pressed. Awesome, we have all our variants already. Let's go to our sign up button now, which we want this to be type secondary and state default, right? But now because we already did the setup, we can just click on the sign up button and change the properties on the sidebar just like this, and there you go. Now, every single time you need a primary and secondary button, you just need to copy the components, go to the sidebar, and choose the properties from this drop down, and everything else will become so much easier and so much faster. Okay, the letter S on our Smart Figma method, it's for structure first. So let's add some structure to our app by creating a beautiful header. Okay, so this will be our second component, and we're going to start by adding a circle for about 44 by 44. Sounds great. And this will be our profile picture. So let's make one with AI. So actions, make an image, and let's prompt something very simple, profile picture of a person. Oh, okay, well, let's just move it up and add the corner radius. Yeah, about 45. Let's add an app name, and let's just call it the wave right now. We're making another circle to add our hamburger menu, and same 44 by 44. Change the fill to white, and we're going to add about a 30% opacity. Great. And we're going to add the hamburger icon here. So go to the top left menu, hover on plugins, and then material icons. You can use whatever icon you choose, but I chose to use these. And I'm searching for a hamburger menu here. Here it is. And just drag it into the circle and change the color. And by the way, I'm putting the instructions to add this plugin in the description below, but let me know if you prefer me to create a video for that. Okay, and we have our first header. Let's drag it out to make a component, and it's I know it's white, so it's kind of not very visible, but you already know how to do the component, right? Just right click and choose create components. Awesome. Now we're going to drag a copy. Remember, it's just a copy, so just hold Alt, drag and drop the copy into the screen, and there you go. We have a header component now. You can even add variants with different elements. For example, let's make another variation, and maybe instead of profile picture, you have a back button. Yeah, so let's make the circle and then just a back arrow like this. Yeah, something like this. And you can add whatever variants you need for each of these components. Now, it's very common for beginners to make mistakes. It's normal, it's part of life. But if you make a mistake and let's say you change the instance of a component, because it is possible to change the instance. Let's say you removed something by mistake. So you remove this. Or maybe you change the color of the text, or change the color of something by mistake, or maybe you were trying something else to see what happened. If this happened to you, don't worry, you can revert back to the original component. Very easy. You just need to right click the instance and then click reset instance. Very easy, very fast, very easy. And for components, you can make pretty much everything. Maybe cards, maybe sections for a playlist, like this one, for example. I just made this for this app. And you can do whatever you want for components. But note here, you do not need to make components for every single thing in your screen. Remember, a component, it has to be a UI element that you will reuse. And if you don't know if you will reuse it in the future, just don't make a component. Don't make a component until you have to use it maybe 2 or 3 times. And while we're talking about components, we already touched 2 points of our smart Figma method, and that's structure first and reuse elements. As we're making sure we're adding the right structure of our screens, and make sure as well that we can reuse the elements and we can change everything in the elements very fast if we need to. Now, this screen is beautiful and all, but hear me out. Don't go without knowing this, because I have interviewed several interns and beginner designers, and if I see a potential mess like this and you have all the variants on components in the same page, you might not make it. So that's why even as a beginner, you need to have a level of organization, and I'm calling this just level 2, and this is just for this example. So right now, our current component organization level is 1, because this is a potential mess in the future. But level 2 is nothing more than having all your components in a dedicated page. Level 3 is design systems, and that is high levels, so you don't need to know how to make them. You do need to know what they are, but not how to make them. Okay, let's organize our components, and this is super fast. Just cut these, create another page, and you do that by clicking this plus button on your left sidebar, and just paste them. And let's just rename our page to components, and the other page, I'll just call it music app, and that's it. Now, let's say you're in this page and you want to check what is the component of this instance. You just right click, and here click on go to main component, and Figma will take you directly where that component is. If you're organizing components like this, you are already doing a much better job than many other beginner designers out there. If you still have questions about components, just let me know. But I have to tell you, one of the crucial things about learning something new is practicing. So you have homework today, my dear designer. Very easy to do. Just create a new design file in Figma, create 1 button component, 1 app header component, and just make 1 or 2 variants of each, and that's it. When you finish, let me know how it goes. And congrats, you officially move up the ladder and you're 1 step closer to become a Figma powerhouse. But your story doesn't end there, because in our next episode, you will learn the second Figma power feature you really need to master as a beginner to continue moving up this exciting ladder. So subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button just so you can get notified on the next episode, and you can find it right here when it's published.